Good morning, ladies. This week, we're going to carry on from last week. I can hear you all groaning, but this is another way to use your embossing folders. And I'll get you my sample. So I've actually debossed this, and I've used a die as well. Now, if you were to emboss after you cut out, you'll lose the shape of your die cut. But if you die cut after you emboss, you'll lose some of your embossing. So if you do them both together, or I'll show you how to do it. It's not actually together, but it is in a way. That's as clear as mud, but you'll see how to do it. I've done one, just done it very plain, but I used the colouring technique just to let you see how you get your embossing left. Okay, if you can see that. It is very effective, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so I've started with A4 half fold card, and then I've cut it at just under 5 and 7/8 to make it a square card. Then I've cut a piece of coloured, I've done mirror card this time, and that is cut at 5.5 by 5.5. And then my other piece is cut at 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. And the last time I used two square dies. This time I'm going to use this fancy shaped one. Now, the reason I'm using these ones is because it's wider here. So the cutting edge is right in the centre. So it'll give me a nice effect. So I'm going to place that on. Try and centre it as much as I can. And then tape it on. And then I'm going to cut that. So I'll get my... and then cut it. Right, so I'm going to take the bit of tape off, but I'm going to put that back in, and I'm going to turn it round, making sure it's properly in, and tape it on the back. Okay, so that's that. Then I'll get my embossing folder. Now, whether I want to deboss, so that's going to push up the way, so that's going to be my embossing, because that's the rough part, that's the smooth part, so that would be a deboss. Okay, so I'm putting that back to front on my mat. And I'm going to get my black mat, because that goes with my Gemini. And then I'm going to get this plate. Now, you will just have to play about with your, whatever works with your machine. Now, if it's going to be tight, if you get, it cuts into the card, or you feel your machine's struggling, do a combination that's going to work for your plate, for your machine. You'll have seen last week what works and what doesn't. If I'm not going to get a deep enough embossing, what I would do is I would put a shim just underneath, a piece of cardboard shim underneath my embossing folder. I wouldn't add another plate because that might be too much. And there we go. That's what works for my machine. Okay, so put them out of the way. I just gently take this tape off. And that's a bit that would go in another card. So there we go. And you can see I've been left with the indentation of my, and that's went debossed again. I quite like that though. I quite like it being debossed. Anyway, now, the bigger one, so the next size up for your embossing, just put that right into the centre. So that's going to be bigger than what you've already cut out, because you're going to be hiding this. If you want to do it the other way, and you'll see the pink, you can. So you would use your big one on that, and then your smaller one, but you would have to centre it. But as I said on one of the texts, it's only a piece of card. If it doesn't work, try it again. It's not, you know, it's not going to be the end of it. As long as you don't damage your machine or, you know, it's only a piece of card. So there we go, that's for another card. And then that is going to get glued onto there flat. Let me get my glue that's working. That I know is definitely working. Aha, she says. Hang on a minute till I sort myself out. Got glue all over my hand there. Honestly, me and glue with these videos. Definitely something works against me. There we go. Let's see if this is any better. I keep meaning to get a bit of blue tack or something so I can stick my pins in, and that stops it, them all gunging up. Here we go, right. Hey! Now, I really should have put the glue around here. And then put that on. There we go. And then I'm going to put foam tape on this. And I want to make sure that this bit's lifted up as well. So give it a Don't want saggy bits. And you put that on your card. And there we go. Now, shuffle. I should have, I was going to put a stamp on there. Wonder if I'd still be able to. Let's try it. Should have done this before I put it together. There we go, to you. Maybe not centred, but never mind. And I've got a die cut out, but I've done it twice. Because I want this to come up and over. And that's why I didn't want the pink showing through. Because the pinks of the sentiment is going to be up and over my card. So, and I want that right on top. Stick it in my fingers. There we go. I think I've got glue everywhere. It's down the side of my, that's why it's all over my fingers. And that's going to go on there. I could have actually lifted that a wee bit more if I had. Everybody else seems to manage this fine apart from me. There. Now, I've done flowers. This is another old one. This is a daisy one. You can use any flowers you like. You don't have to do the same kind of flowers that I'm doing, but I just haven't used this one in a long time. And I've been promising myself I was going to use it since I came across it, and I haven't done it yet. So I have today. It's just a bit of a nuisance trying to get it out. If I remember rightly, I should have had greaseproof paper in behind this one. And there we go. So I'll get my embossing mat. Now, for flowers like this, you get a ball tool. And if you concentrate on this bit here, like, that's what makes it curl up. So I'm going right to the end, but then I'm rubbing there. And that's what gives it its shape. It's concentrating on this wee bit here. And then you turn it round, push it down, and just give it a The reason I'm going right to the end is with pulling it out of the die, it's got a couple of twisted bits at the end, so it just smooths it out. And then turn it round. And there we go. So I'm just going to put some glue on, offset it, remember. And now it's up to yourself what you put in the centre. If you want to put a gem or whatever, I'm going to put pearl drops on as soon as I get it on the card. So, a bit of glue on the back, and I'm going to position that there. Now I've also cut out a leaf twice, and I'm going to cut it down. My wee scissors. Oh! Stab myself on the scissors. That's my neighbour going to be at his work. He's great banging. Must be Alison with the dog. It's a bit late for a dog going to be at his work. Right. Too much information for you. it's just a case of building it up underneath. And there we go. It's a fine simple card, but it's just, you've just got to remember and use your embossing mat with your embossing folder open, so that if you were to close your embossing folder with the a die in, it's going to cut into your embossing folder and it's going to damage it. So if you leave your embossing folder open, it's not going to damage it at all, and your mat is going to do the work for you, the work of the other side of the embossing. There we go. And I love putting drops on. I'm going to do that one very big. There we go. So that was a fine simple card this week. I'll have to leave that flat so that all my pearl drops dry. But as I say, if you just remember and leave your embossing folder open, use your mat that comes with your machine, and you will get a finish like that. So that is the debossed. So, and I've used the rough, I used the rough side. So if you want the embossed, you use the smooth side. Yeah, that's the rough side. So you use the smooth side if you want an emboss, and the rough side if you want a deboss. So, happy crafting, and I hope you enjoy that one.